Kit Alowitz with a special edition of Don't Pull the Chicken Switch 1.5 minute nugget. Now, I have become very intrigued with this idea of neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is simply the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially in response to things like learning, unlearning, or other life experiences. Now, a few months ago, I tried this idea of neuroplasticity in trying to learn to ride an unrideable bike. Now, I first saw a gentleman's name is Destin Sandlin on YouTube showcasing this absolutely crazy experiment where he and a group of his engineers created a bike with essentially reverse handlebars. This means that normally if you ride a bike and you turn the handlebars to the left, the bike goes left, right? Well, the bike that they built, they switched the handlebars so that they're different. They're reverse. So essentially, if you want to go left or left, you have to turn the handlebars to the right. It totally jacks with your brain. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not a big deal. I could easily do it. Well, let me just tell you, I'm here to say, think again. Dustin traveled really across the globe offering $200 to anyone who could ride his bike. He never had to part with his $200. So, after I saw the video, I decided to take the challenge. Now, it was painful to try to figure out how to change my brain. First time I got on the bike, I immediately crashed. And I crashed repeatedly as I tried to practice how to ride a bike by turning the handlebars the opposite way that I was used to after 48 years. I'm happy to say that after nearly 11 hours, I successfully was able to rewire my brain. I unlearned the way I had learned to ride a bike and relearned how to ride a bike, to ride this unrideable bike. So today I'm happy to report that I can hop on this reversible bike and ride what was once an unrideable bike, and I've conquered that bad boy. So today I want to showcase yet another sort of dimension of neuroplasticity and a challenge I put on for myself. This one has to do with yoga. I am going to show you some yoga moves that as early as 2 months ago, I could not even get close to doing. And I'm being dead serious. First off, you need to know that I have almost no flexibility, which can be a very big problem, especially if you're going to dazzle an audience with some sort of yoga moves. For example, if you ask me to bend over and touch my toes, I can get to about my knees, and that's about as far as I can get without having to stop. Now, maybe that's too many years running or not stretching, whatever it may be. Now, I know that this idea of changing the way we think and do it's important, but it's not rocket science. Yet a majority of us don't practice what we know. Now, this idea of neuroplasticity, it's easy to do, as I've learned in my own experience, but it's also even easier not to do. We know that we can change the way we do things and see things and experience things. The hard part is actually doing something or deciding to do something about it. Let's call that deciding part having the desire. As I round out nearly 2 years since I wrote and published my book, Don't Pull the Chicken Switch, I'm personally fascinated with my own ineptitudes in this area of my life, around things that I know I could change, habits I could stop, and habits I could start, but I haven't. Equally crazy, as I've traveled the globe and worked with others, I'm fascinated with professionally and personally those others who also could have consciously chosen to learn and unlearn habits and new things, but they choose not to. Let's call that, for you, something like desire or lack of desire. Now, as dumb as I have been in many areas of my life, I decided to put to test my ability to use this idea of neuroplasticity and rewire my brain. This time I did it with yoga. Now, I want to show you some of these maybe dazzling moves within the discipline of yoga that, under the tutelage of my yoga instructor, D. Woods, took me from an initial complete inability to do any of these yoga moves to game day where I was able to nail all 4 moves. Now, this idea of pushing my own potential neuroplastic brain, it's probably driven by primarily 2 things. Area 1 or thing 1 is I like to try new things. Area number 2 is I am driven by a responsibility that I have at my day job to press the ideas within our top leaders and organization on topics such as leadership, growth, principles, mutual influence, getting and reacting to feedback, development, and neuroplasticity, thus pushing the limits of what we believe is possible. I love the saying, is seeing believing or is believing seeing? Well, we're about to see. I was driven by the fact that I wanted to showcase my own potential neuroplasticity in these 4 yoga moves at a conference on leadership preeminence that I was leading 2 months from when the day I started learning these yoga moves. Each move took me weeks of practice, wiring, practice, unwiring, and more practice. So yoga move number 1 is called, and I can't even pronounce it, it's a very long name, it's here in the video. Let's call it UHP, or to help me remember it, I call it the toe grab pose. I nailed it, yes! Yoga move number 2 is also a name that I can't pronounce, and you can see it here in the corner of the screen. For simplicity, I call it the crow pose. Nailed it, yes! Yoga move number 3 is also a term that I cannot pronounce. We can call it PB, or simple terms, it's called the crane pose. Nailed it. Move number 3, yes. And then for my powerful emotional close, I performed yoga move number 4. A move that was pretty darn scary. In fact, it was scary as hell for me to try to master. The move is called the Kid Aloit's aerial swing bat pose. It involves using a yoga trapeze and yoga harness to tie myself up and then do a forward drop and trust my patience and my practice that it will land me on my feet and not on my head. Take a look, watch this.
All right, so he's up there, he's gonna stop. Okay, this is scary, guys, I have to admit.
Oh my God.